Oh my goodness, this is amazing. I just launched the Launch Your Leaders podcast, and I'm really excited about this because I've been thinking about wanting a podcast for years. And for some reason, it wasn't really the right time, I believe, but I just kind of put it off. Interestingly enough, I started the Launch Your Leaders live 2 years ago. And for some reason, it was easier for me to do a live than a podcast. But finally, here I am now, and in this time. The reason I'm starting this is because I just love having conversations, and the lives I used to hold them monthly, that wasn't enough. I had so many people I want to talk to, and it wasn't enough to just have monthly lives. I could not get to all the incredible and amazing people that I meet all the time, that I want to talk to, that I wanted to share what has made them incredible leaders in their careers, so that I can bring all that to you. So rejoice, rejoice, rejoice with me, because today I am doing the first solo episode. So Multi Leaders podcast is going to come in two formats. Every week, you'll get one interview with a guest, a leader and trailblazer, or an innovator in their own field that will share stories about their leadership journey. And also, you get solo episodes with me where we'll talk about different things like career strategies, leadership, or things that will help you in your personal life as well. Always pretty short, pretty quick, so that you can go ahead and immediately take action on that. And if you've known me for years, you know that I believe so much in taking action. That's the key. So every time I do the live at the end, I'm like, what is one thing you're going to take action on? Our podcasts are going to be the same way, but also I will give you short 5 to 10 minute episodes. Today's maybe a little longer just because it's the first one, so that you can have your action items for the week and just go ahead and do it. The goal is, as you take this every week and take action on them at the end of the year, you'll be way ahead of where you even thought you were going to be with your new Year resolutions at the beginning of the year. All right. So at deciding, I just want to say that I'm very happy to be here. If you don't know me, either way, I'm going to introduce myself again. I am Iloeje-Udeogalanya, the founder of African Women in STEM. I'm a TEDx speaker. I'm a leadership strategist and coach. I'm an author. I did launch a book. I did write a I contributed to a book that launched this year is African Women in STEM Trailblazers, and I'm gonna include all of this in the show notes so that you can go and check the book out and buy. And a community builder. I'm a super connector. I love to connect with people and connect people with each other, because I believe and I know that when people work together, when people that are aligned work together, the result is going to be tenfold, 100-fold, 1,000-fold what it would be if they are working alone and by themselves. And then around what we're talking about in this Launch Your Leader podcast, I am one of so many people that are going to encounter in this podcast that are redefining what leadership looks like for women in STEM, for Black women, for women of color, for African women in STEM. Because we have this thing where we have just one example of leadership, and we're told that this is what leadership should look like. I had a 20-year career in industry. Throughout my entire career, leadership was the same. It was do as I say, not as I do. Do it because I say so. And leaders wanted to be feared. They wanted to walk into the room and everybody would be shaking in their boots. And that was what leadership looked like. And I wasn't that kind of leader. I mean, not everybody's like that, but different shades of that in leadership. And very few women. So most times when you step into leadership, you have to show that force for them to believe that you are a true leader. I wasn't like that, and that didn't really fight down well with the people I worked with, because I had a different type of leadership. Interestingly enough, I was reading something last year or earlier this year, and they laid out all these different types of leadership, which in those days, I'm sure they existed, but they were not being highlighted. This podcast is an opportunity for us to explore all the different types of leadership, all the different ways I can be a leader. If you ask me, I'm going to say you're already a leader. You don't need a title to be a leader, because at the very basics, you're leading yourself. Self-leadership is key. If you listen to my TEDx talk, I talk about being self-aware. Having self-awareness is really key and critical. If you're not self-aware and you can't lead yourself, it's going to be really challenging for you to lead other people. But with that being said, you're working in an in an industry, a company, an organization, there are several ways that you show up as a leader without the title. I say this because in my experience, in my career, and mentoring so many women, hundreds at this point, one thing I see or I experience or I encounter all the time is this women coming to say, I'm not a leader. Because in their mind, they're thinking, I have to be the CEO, the CTO, senior executive, some senior person, senior director, and all of that. Or they feel that they can't be in those leaders because they're not exactly like the male examples. So you are a leader, get that? And even without the title, you're a leader. It's really important for you to have this mindset because it's going to impact the way you show up. They always say show up as who you want to be, not necessarily who you are or who you think you are right now. This Launch Your Leader podcast is going to be a space where you can exist as yourself, build your own ideal of what leadership should be like. Support one another and build a movement because we are changing the world one leadership action at a time. This podcast is to amplify the voices of leaders that are not what the industry tells us leaders should be. Leaders that are breaking barriers, really challenging cultures. Leaders that are very different from very ordinary, and people that we can relate to, but who, find all explanations and not what leaders should be like. So we're going to showcase them here. We're going to talk about what makes someone a leader, how you can grow in your career, step into your leadership style, be confident in it, and make it very normal. Follow or the path that is yours and is aligned to the way you think. Of course, you're moving the company forward and you're trying to do things that will drive the organization forward, but you don't have to do it like the other person. There's always an opportunity to learn the skills, tools, and strategies, but you don't learn your personality. That's something you don't necessarily want to change. And there's power in being unique. There's something that whatever it is that makes you uniquely different is your superpower, and you have to bring it to the table as you lead. Another thing I want to bring up is that you don't do it alone, which is why we're here doing this podcast, well, an opportunity for us to build a community around redefining leadership. So make sure that you find other people like you among the audience of people that are listening to this podcast, because aligned people do things that are aligned. It will also be easy for you to find your people. So when I have a guest on the podcast, reach out, connect with them, and also see the people that interact with. They might be your people as well. On this podcast, we'll talk about leadership. We'll also talk about visibility, which is key. We'll talk about how to accelerate your career by being uniquely you. We'll talk about identity, culture, and how to be confident doing the things that you do, whether or not it's different from what other people are doing. We'll talk about influence, impact, legacy, community, which is very, very important. I believe that with community, you can do almost anything. And because of the age we're in and the way the future of work is going, we're going to talk about leadership in the age of AI. What does it mean to be a leader in the age of AI? What does it mean to be human, to have empathy, and all of that? So we're going to talk about all those things and how to navigate your STEM career when you're living different. Be it because of your gender or your race or any other thing that makes you different from everybody else you encounter at work. And you will definitely enjoy these conversations with the leaders, allies, change makers, and innovators that I will have on this podcast. And on at the ones where it's just you and I having a conversation, you'll enjoy those too. Every week, I'll bring you interviews and episodes. So stay tuned, watch out, follow. If you follow, you will always get the episodes and you will not lose anything. Make sure that you follow me and you follow my guests. If you have any questions, hit me up on LinkedIn. I'm always on LinkedIn. I think I'm on LinkedIn way too much for my own good. I say this all the time. And I think that there should be something about if you're on LinkedIn quite a lot, LinkedIn should start, rewarding you in a certain. I definitely know there's other people that are on LinkedIn way more than me, but I feel like I'm there enough for LinkedIn to actually recognize me as, hey, you're on LinkedIn. I think we should recognize you in a special way. So, If there's something I wanted to take away, is that we don't get what we want by wishing. We get what we want by being clear. And my goal is that with every episode, you're clearer about the kind of person you want to be, the kind of career you want to have, how you want to show up every day at work and in the world, the kind of leader you want to be, how you want to lead others, and so on. The second thing I want you to take away is that courage is built through action. You don't just wake up and become courageous. We read stories that tell us that we're not courageous. But the truth is, you're courageous because you take action. I'm going to give you an example. A couple of years ago, my coach told me, and I think now African women in STEM, and my coach was like, you need to actually start having a social media presence. So she asked me to post on LinkedIn. And I fought it for months. And eventually I wrote the post. I sat on the post for 3 months. And I kept arguing with her about the reason why I shouldn't post. I really didn't want to be out there. And I thought that for some reason I was going to be judged if it wasn't perfect and I'm going to get all this backlash and it'd be the end of the world. Finally, I posted the post and I literally went and covered myself with a blanket and hid there. I thought the worst was going to happen. The worst didn't happen. The next time I had a conversation with my coach, she asked me, so how did it go? I didn't think about this, but this is what came out of my mouth. I kid you not. I posted and I didn't die. How in the world did I think I was going to die because I posted? But my point is, nothing happened. The earth didn't change. Nothing changed. I was still the same person and I was actually happier and proud of myself. So I'm saying this to say that courage is not something that you wake up and have. Courage is something that you build through action. Whatever it is that you're worried about, take action towards that and you build the courage along with it. The third thing I want to talk about is that community is a foundation of long-term leadership. Most of us, especially women in STEM, Black women in STEM, women of color in STEM, most times you're going to find yourself in workplaces where you're the only one or one of the few. Because we are hardworking and ambitious, we will sometimes find ourselves working our way up to the top into certain leadership positions. But then we get there and guess what? That's not the end. That's just the beginning of the journey. And at the beginning of that journey, we find that we're there all by ourselves. It's not enough to get to these positions. It matters that you have sustainability, that can have a long-term success. So think about it, whatever it is you're doing, even if it's not an executive position, but just your career in general. If you want to have a longer sustainable career, you need support. You need support because think about it. Your CEO, your senior leaders, they have their circle. They have the people that support them. They have the people that are fighting for them regardless. So you need that. Community is the foundation of a long-term sustainable career and most importantly, a long-term sustainable leadership career. So the fourth thing I want to talk about is that your identity is your power. I gave a TEDx talk. It's titled, How Embracing Your Cultural Identity is Key to Your Success in STEM. It has over 100,000 views. It's on YouTube, so go watch it. Go watch it. I promise I'm going to put all this stuff, all this information in the show notes. Your identity is your power because that is what makes you uniquely you. I don't want to show up and be like everybody else. First of all, you can't be somebody else because you're just going to be a copy of that person. So you cannot really be the best that you can be if you're trying to be somebody else. You learn from people because you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You learn from people for sure, but you don't want to be them. So whatever it is that makes you uniquely you, your cultural identity or whatever other unique identity that you have, it is your superpower. And make sure that it shows up in everything that you do. And the fifth thing that I want to bring up today is that you deserve to dream boldly. For some reason, we stop dreaming after we turn, 7, 8, 9, I don't remember. And it's how the world is. You start going to school and they tell you, well, dreams are not, so on and so forth. You're not encouraged to just lose your imagination and face reality. But I think that's one of the worst things that ever happened to humanity is the whole idea that we should stop dreaming and face reality. Because if you think about it, I'm going to use Apple because it's a perfect example. Steve Jobs was able to build what he built because he dreamed. If he was facing reality, the earth around him was not Apple. It was on the iPad, it was on the iPod, it was on any of the products that they produced. and he would not have been able to build what he built today. So dream. Don't be afraid to dream, and dream boldly, and lead unapologetically. We apologize a lot. No, you deserve to be where you are. You don't have to apologize for it. So lead boldly, dream boldly, and lead unapologetically. I am so excited for this special episode with you. I'm looking forward to several more of this and to give you more of what you want so that you can earn more, so that you can make more impact, so that you can have more visibility, so you can have more influence, so you can be confident, show up with confidence every single day in your career, and become part of communities that will uplift you so that you can be able to showcase your work and be honored for the exceptional person that you are. But most importantly, I want you to be able to live life on your own terms. So this has been wonderful. This has been a wonderful first episode. Just having this opportunity to have this conversation with you, to have this podcast with you. The solo episodes going forward, I think once in a while I'll just come in and we'll just chat like this, like friends, and make it more fun. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey. Thank you so much for investing your time to listen to this podcast, Launch with Leaders. I look forward to having you on here every week. To make sure you don't miss anything, follow the Launch with Leaders podcast. Share this episode with your friends, colleagues, other women in STEM, with anyone that you think is going to need this, because I'm going to have guests that come from all walks of life and of all genders, all races. The most important thing that you're going to see, the thread you're going to see with all the guests, that we're all aligned in what it, in the fact that we don't think leadership is one way. We're all aligned in redefining leadership for ourselves and making sure that we show up every day with that. Follow, share this episode with your friends. On LinkedIn, Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya. It's Adaeze space Iloeje hyphen Udeogalanya. So I'm Adaeze Iloeje-Udeogalanya on LinkedIn. Send me a DM, follow me, shout me out, and tell me what you learned from this episode. Tell me that you're excited that I started this podcast, and tell me what you want to hear, or if it's any guest that you want me to interview. Let me know. I want to be able to interact with all of you. If you're ready to lead boldly, if you're ready to elevate your influence, I invite you to join a global movement of people who are redefining what leadership looks like. This is your invitation, and my question to you is, would you accept?